And now I've begun to say, hey, what is really the importance of these programs? Because as we looked at the research, 90% of almost all B2C companies across variety of sectors uh, have loyalty programs in place. But 80% of them really fail to live up to their expectations. And it fails to live up to expectations because of a variety of reasons. And as you and I as consumers, Charu, I think if you think about loyalty programs, and I did a quick survey on LinkedIn as we were preparing for this conversation. And as I looked at it, I saw that I did that poll, and what is your favorite loyalty program? And you can see by far the credit cards are the most favorable loyalty programs, followed by hotels and airlines. And then the super apps in recent times have improved their value proposition. But pretty much all of them actually fall into three of these categories, right? So we all sign up for other loyalty programs, but eventually they all fade away. I think there are some exceptions. I think Starbucks is an exception. Maybe I did not prompt and ask Starbucks. I think they're quite an exception as well. So we wanted to explore, hey, is loyalty we associate with these credit card companies, KrisFlyer or one of those airlines, and then after that, there is no room for the other company. So is it really limited to some very top brands? Because as human programs, is it something else that we can do? So that is what we are hoping to address in this conversation. So maybe we can kickstart, Charu. I don't. Who are interested in loyalty, we can get started there. So maybe I will start with you, Charu. Maybe let's dive straight in to the subject and say, the first one, the first question is, let's say, and I'm coming from the telecom world. We have telecom customers and telecom service providers. In many of the developing markets, ARPUs are so low, $3 a month, $4 a month. Is there a room for loyalty programs when the ARPU itself is so small, right? And what is our advice to somebody like that?
Wow, okay. I don't know about the advice, but that in itself is a bit surprising to know that it's just a few dollars, the ARPU. And when I look back, I think a year or maybe 18 months ago, I switched my telco provider, and I won't give names, but I think I was paying 40 times or at least 30 times the ARPU that you mentioned. And I'm sure I'm not the top bracket of that for that telco company. And so I guess the question to ask is, I of course did research before I switched my telco, and I couldn't find a reason to stay because in the end, it was just about the price. So the question to ask is that if the ARPUs are so low, then why aren't there personalized offers for users who are paying much above than the average revenue? So, and it's interesting, and it is a challenge, right? It's interesting that according to the Global Customer Loyalty Report by Entavo, 79% companies expressed interest in revamping their loyalty programs, and this as opposed to 72% a year before. And 68% plan to increase investment in customer retention, as opposed to 30% who plan to increase investment in customer acquisition. So we all, during this time of recession and inflation, I guess all companies are aligned on the fact that retention is far more important than acquisition in this market. Now, the point here is, if the ARPUs are so low, are is there merit in really digging deep into your customer segments and identify the ones who are paying maybe just even 5 to 10 times more than ARPUs, and understand them better and have a personalized offer? I mean, I would have loved a personalized offer from my erstwhile telco or company. And according to Accenture, about 33% customers will abandon a brand if it fails to create a sense of personalization. So I guess that's I'll pause here to just say that segmenting and personalizing is key for brands and products that have such low revenues per user.
Yeah, I apologize for that. Sorry, please continue. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So no, I just said that I think personalization and targeted campaigns or targeted offers is very important in addressing or working or building loyalty programs around products that have such low average revenue per user when there are customer segments that are definitely paying much more than that.
Correct. So, that leads me really, Charu, to the next one. So where there is such extreme commoditization, and in terms of the pricing, in terms of products. So how do we do it? So one is personalization. Second is very, very targeted segments. What are the other avenues available to companies as they look at, building loyalty? Like, maybe the question is, what is the highest form of loyalty that we can expect to build with customers?
Right. So I think in terms of looking at commoditized products, there is, I guess there is not much scope to increase or decrease prices, offer discounts, and it's where switching is so easy. I guess the personalization and something called progressive profiling of customers is very important, where you gradually start to know and understand your customers bit by bit. There are real challenges for us marketers out there where third-party cookies are going away. There are the customer privacy and GDPR is at the center of all customer relationships. Then the zero-party data, or how well do I know my customer, becomes really important. So building consistent relationships with them, creating progressive profiles, creating cumulative or accumulating information about the customer, about their likes, dislikes, aspirations becomes very critical. And I think one of the things is that our top customers and brands that I'm loyal to, and I know that in my company, the loyal community members, they want to be heard. And I want to be heard as a customer as well. So in that case, I, as a brand, need to be very transparent in taking or accumulating their information. And that's where the transparency and the ownership comes into play. The information about the customer should be owned by the customer. And if I am using that, or if I'm leveraging that in some way, I should reward the customer. So that's, I think, progressive profiling, transparency is one element. The other element, big element around commoditized products and services is around engagement, and how, even though the price of the product is low, how deeply are customers engaged with the brand. And some of the recent interesting examples are around gamification. So there's KFC recently launched their arcade game within their ordering app, which sort of brings back, nostalgia and engagement. The customers are playing the arcade games before they're ordering, or while they're ordering, or while they're waiting for their order, and they collect points. So even though KFC is, it's in a very competitive market, yet they found a niche where they are engaging consistently with their customers through the game. So I guess gamification is becoming a big trend in terms of not just commoditized, but other products and services as well.
Excellent. Hey, great. Thanks for that, Charu. I think there's a question, which is, what are the different kinds of loyalty programs? And so we have just published a research today on the platform as we embark on this journey. So I and Charu, we thought that let's embark on a journey together. Let's learn about loyalty programs. And we try and see what role does NFT, blockchain, some of these Web3 technologies, what role do they have in addressing these big challenges that, sometimes you may not be as big a brand as an airline or a hotel. Then how do you still drive an effective loyalty program? So let's look at this question. And question is, what are the different kinds of loyalty programs that are existing today? So maybe I can take this one, Charu, and then you can supplement it. Essentially, there are four. We can bucket all loyalty programs into four distinct categories. One is the point-based category. The more you spend, you earn more points, and we are all in this race to accumulate more airline points. And that is the simplest, form of loyalty programs that anybody introduce, and then you claim those points for vouchers and discounts, etc. This is by far the most dominant things that exist today. The second is the tiering. So based on how much you spend, usually tier, and they give you a better status with the overall program. So if you're in Singapore, almost everyone in Singapore aspires to be as part of the KrisFlyer PPS club, the highest form of loyalty there. What has really taken off in recent times is the subscription-based loyalty programs, which is the likes of Amazon Prime, where you pay for that loyalty, and in return, you also get some form of benefit, which could be an elevated benefit. You get access to some music or some other. And I thought Amazon Prime really defined a completely new category when they launched their loyalty program. And the final and maybe the top echelon is really value-based, where you are really loyal to the brand, and the brand simply because of the brand's larger purpose that they look at serving. Charu, you want to add something to it?
I guess, what you're saying, Manoj, about the types of loyalty programs, it's very important. But I guess one of the things that cuts across all loyalty programs, and what you asked me earlier as well, what is the highest form of loyalty? And one of the things that we've seen is that so far brands have relied on rational and transactional benefits. And however, there is an increasing trend of understanding how customers feel about the brand. Do they share the same values? Do customers feel that we share the same values as the brand does? Or it helps them express their personal identity in some way. I guess what we're talking about here is the emotional loyalty. Is there an emotional connect or a relationship that customers feel with the brand? And according to Erin Race, who is from Annex, I really liked one of her quotes that was published, that emotional loyalty is more than a trend, and it should be a pillar of the broader loyalty strategy. And as technology continues to evolve and customer expectations grow higher and more complex, personalizing to create emotional bonds will be imperative. So that I would say is the highest form of loyalty. And you talked about Amazon Prime. At the peak of emotional loyalty is, are you ready to pay for it? Right, subscription loyalty. And we know that subscription-based revenues are massive. They are on track to reach $1.5 trillion by 2025. And loyalty design plays a big role in that. So on the face of it, is Amazon Prime a great loyalty program? Yes, but it is really a loyalty business. So that, I would say, sparked by emotional loyalty, I would say, is the highest form of loyalty, and which could apply in any of the loyalty program categories that you mentioned.
Correct. Yeah. No, I think about when I think about emotional loyalty, I think about the loyalty that my daughter has to Lululemon. I think it is almost the highest form of loyalty. She pays the most premium for a very simple, I must say, an excellent product, but she identifies with every other person wearing Lululemon, and you can see how it's almost you identify with that community, and they're willing to pay an extraordinary premium to be part of that club.
Yeah, exactly. Community is the other big element that's shaping the loyalty programs and loyalty design for tomorrow.
Excellent. So yeah, we have another question. Okay, there's a question. You mentioned that understanding your customers is really important. However, the voices of customers are mixed. So how do you understand customers really well so that you can define the programs better? So there's a lot of noise around the information that we get. Is there any mechanism to make sense of the noise in a mere meaningful manner to be able to address it? I think it's a tough question. Yeah, maybe I can take a stab at it, and then maybe Charu, you can add. I think customers provide, in today's digital age, customers provide such deep insights because they are always connected, and you really need an integrated view of your customers from multiple channels to be able to form that opinion. That is what the customer tells you. At the same time, there are many things that the customer doesn't tell you. So I think we got to really go down to the heart of the problem, and therefore, spending time to understand truly what is the real reason for that customer disconnect. So I empathize with your question. I understand what you're getting at. But the answer is not that, the answer is in defining our sources of data and understanding that customer journey efficiently to be able to define where the problem is and how we can improve that loyalty by minimizing the friction for the customer. So essentially, we got to make it easy for the customer with time well spent or time well saved, right? So time well saved is our ability to save time for the customer when he or she is looking at engaging with us as a brand. And time well spent is when I like to spend an extra amount of time with the particular brand simply because I like to be part of that community. Charu, if you want to add something, otherwise we can take up the next question.
Yeah, I think understanding, and Manoj, you touched upon that, the omni-channel experience, right? And there are various customer touch points to, I think there is focus required in understanding the information received or information that can be analyzed across various touch points and have a consistent messaging and response through various touch points. I guess what happens in many loyalty programs is that I receive separate emails. I receive separate emails on offers, and I receive a separate email as a loyalty program member. So which means that the information here is being split, and there is not one, from my perspective as a customer, I do not receive one experience or unified experience. I'm receiving two different types of offers as a member and as a non-member. So I guess there is scope to align and enhance synergies across various touch points. And that sits at the heart of what we discussed earlier about progressive profiling, that do we understand our customer segments that well, that we know their likes, dislikes, and aspirations to be able to create personalized experiences for them.
Excellent. Thank you, Charu. So Charu, let's get into the meat of the subject, and an area where I think you are supremely passionate about. So what does Web3 mean for loyalty? Is that going to make it more easy to engage with customers? Is it enables you to address some of the challenges that companies have, that my average spend with the customer is so little, but yet how do I drive better loyalty? So what is the role of Web3 to support loyalty?
So before I say anything, I must address and I must acknowledge that Web3 and NFTs are still just getting started. We've not achieved full success, but there are some amazing experiments that have been done, and this space will continue to evolve. However, our discussion so far, we've talked about a few trends that we are seeing in loyalty programs, in successful loyalty programs. One is around the experiential rewards, around experiences beyond just transactional benefits and discounts and rebates. That's becoming more and more important. The point around emotional loyalty, what do the customers feel some sort of connection with the brand, emotional connection, or do they feel that the brand reflects the same values as they do? And then the third is around the community that you mentioned with the example of Lululemon. I think all of these three elements are, we've seen very well addressed in general in crypto communities, in crypto projects, because there it's all about the community. It's about, even though the communities are large, we deeply value, and we may not be able to keep up 100%, but we deeply value the contributions and support of the early supporters, early participants in the community. And that's sort of our top tier, top segment. And the emotional connect that we have with them is because they are not just customers, but they are our stakeholders. So that design where it's sort of a participatory economics gives is sort of a proof point that all these three trends around loyalty can be can be sort of not fulfilled, but we can definitely make an attempt to fulfill through this whole concept of Web3 and the way communities engage. Now, I'll further elaborate on this with a few examples. A lot of brands, and right now the crypto market is sort of, it's volatile, and we see all the highs and lows very frequently. But in the last year and early last year, when the markets were at its peak, a lot of brands took advantage of that and launched various NFT-based loyalty and community programs. And one of the interesting ones was by Nike. They acquired a company called Artifact, and Artifact is a virtual studio that sort of designs sneakers, and through a partnership with them, they integrated a new Nike virtual studio to unleash their series of Nike branded NFTs. And so Artifact Studios debuted their Space Trip initiative, and where they curated 18 local artists to create designs of sneakers. And then their 19th artist was Paris Hilton, who was recruited to create a unique design for the sneaker. Right now, each shoe came with the NFT, which means that there were relationships with the physical and the digital asset. And they sort of sold out, massive revenues were made, millions of dollars, and created a really strong community. And then there was an example of Coca-Cola. They launched their NFT collection on the International Friendship Day, sold out. They had elements of sound and audios that are very pleasant and very familiar to us, opening of a Coke bottle, the pop, the bubbles, and so on. So they tried to sort of trigger nostalgia and created NFTs around that and sold it. So, and then there was Starbucks, right? The Odyssey program. Now, they've done something interesting. Now, while both Nike and I'll come back to Nike because I want to highlight something important there. While Nike, Coca-Cola, Adidas, Gucci, they all have experimented with NFT sales, and they've had great success if you look at the NFT sales in that market, which was at its peak. But I think the question to ask is there longevity built into the design of these NFT sales? And maybe not. And that's time will tell that. But what Starbucks is doing is something interesting with their Odyssey program. First of all, they don't call their NFTs, they call them journey stamps, right? Over time, I guess we will not call these NFTs. For example, we don't say, oh, I'm going to YouTube to watch a MP4, right? We say, well, I'm going to YouTube to learn something or to understand something, right? So we'll not say, oh, I'm going to get into my loyalty app to get NFTs, right? So I guess that's what they're trying to do. And the Odyssey experience is around engaging with the brand, completing tasks, and then earning the stamps. And recently, they also launched a marketplace to sell those stamps, and those stamps were all sold out. Right now, just coming back to what's happening here, let's take the example of Nike, right? Traditionally, loyalty programs have, and this has been around for many, many years. In traditional loyalty programs, we often see brand partnerships, affiliate marketing efforts, where if you are a loyal member of brand A, then because of the partnership with brand B, you also get discounts by default with them, right? And that circuit can be expanded. But eventually, it comes down to transactional relationship and discounts and rebates. But what Nike did was they created this community of 18 artists who brought in their communities, who brought in their skill set, their creativity, and there was an economy created around that, around what the loyal members or the creators of your community are contributing, and they're rewarded for that. And because they are NFTs, there is a true sense of ownership. There's proven ownership. It's transparent. So these are, those are the things you can do only with NFTs and with blockchain. You can't do that in traditional loyalty programs. I guess we wanted to discuss this, that why do we need NFTs and why do we need Web3? I think that's I sort of already covered that, but that's the answer. So what NFTs and loyalty, NFTs and Web3 are bringing to loyalty is something unique, but it is very much aligned to the normal trends that we are seeing in Web2 or traditional loyalty programs. I'll take a pause there and I'll let you.
Yeah, I think there are too many questions coming in. Maybe we can, there's a very fundamental basic question from Kevin. He talks about, what are some of the common mistakes? And I think this is a quick win. We can address that, and then we can, the common mistakes are, the ease of consuming a loyalty program. How easy is it to sign up? How easy is it to use the points? And are the rewards even significant? And that is the challenge that we addressed right at the beginning, which was, if I'm having a monthly spend of $2 or $3, and as a percentage of my total spend, then if it is so insignificant, then is there really a room for loyalty, right? So how do you make the rewards program compelling enough so that you can do something? Then many a times people make a mistake. They get people to sign up, but there's very poor communication between the brand and the members. Yeah? And the fourth one is just the ease of use of the interface. Poor program design, poor software design. These are some of the fundamentals that itself, kind of is a bottleneck. Let's take the next question, and maybe we can see. I think this is an interesting one, and it comes from Indermeet. He talks about, he's from Intermiles, and he's talking about the fragmentation, the multiplicity of loyalty reward programs leads to non-engagement. So if you are a brand where the customer doesn't make that frequent and a purchase, how will you deal with it? When a customer is, let's say, making a purchase 2 times, 3 times a year. So how will we drive a loyalty program? How do we be relevant? Is NFT blockchain an answer for it in any form?
So I think that's an interesting point, right? There are two elements to it. First of all, how do we define as a brand? How do we want to define loyalty, right? And one is an obvious answer. The metric that has been tracked forever is around revenue. Are loyal customers giving us more revenues? And yes, the answer is yes, loyal customers do give more revenues, and there are stats around it in various reports.
Yeah.
But I guess the other part of it is, even if the customer is making the purchase only 2 or 3 times a year, are there other behaviors that are helping the brand? Are they being good advocates? Are they inviting their friends and family over? If they are not purchasing as much, are they still using their referral codes? Are they, so I guess it also depends on the brand, on what is important for them. Beyond transactions. And this is something that is important for us in the blockchain circuits, that our community members, they are not going to buy the tokens or NFTs every day, every single time. They've invested, and they are in it for the long term, hopefully. So what our objective is that it's not the number of transactions, but how long do they hold on to these assets? And so it depends on your brand objectives, and that's how you can create your loyalty program and communication around it. And okay, so your second question was, how do NFTs play a role in that? So again, I guess engagement is where NFTs could really help. We talked about gamification, we talked about community, how communities come together powered by NFTs. That's where I think Web3 and digital assets could have a big role to play.
I also think maybe this pay for loyalty, which is a subscription-based loyalty program, could also play an important role in increasing that engagement and an ability for a person to participate in some higher degree of benefits in associated with these programs. Okay, there are a few other questions. Okay, I think it's some very specific question. Loyalty programs work very well in B2C. Do they take into success of loyalty program in B2B as well? Wow, that's a tough one. Okay. The perfect loyalty programs in a B2C world is really an airlines one, right? Most of us fly airlines for work, and all the points get accumulated for consumer. So I think that's one of the most best used, demonstrated B2B2C loyalty programs. And I think that's where the gamification, hotels, etc., come into play. Are there any other B2B programs that come to your mind, Charu?
I think, Manoj, this just sort of goes back to a discussion that we were having around, the communities around SME banking. We talked about it briefly. And if you look at any bank and their business around SMEs, it's very much B2B. But I guess what is again important is really understanding, what do your customers need? What are their aspirations? So tapping into understanding their needs and aspirations is a key to creating that loyalty program for even B2B. And I think for businesses, I guess it's more about, it could be around like SME as a segment, right? It's more around education. It's more about their growth. It's more about them networking. So if deeper engagement with them could give them benefits around meeting the right people, getting access to the right guidance and mentorship, I guess that's something for brands to explore or for large banks to explore. And community is also important for B2B, because then they meet like-minded brands who are sort of dealing with the same challenges. So I guess it's just really tapping into what does the end user, whether it's a brand or a retail customer, what are they looking for and what are their aspirations?
Hey, fabulous. Fabulous response. Thank you very much for that, Charu. Let me see if I can take up one more question from here. If there is any one more question which is interesting. Okay, the next question is, loyalty programs seem a lot like walled gardens. While the main focus is to retain customers in a company ecosystem, we are in an era where users want option when it comes to spending. So if customers want to spend their loyalty programs in other ecosystems, is there a case for companies to design their programs to be more open so that people can actually consume loyalty programs across other loyalty programs? Yeah, I think the answer is a definite yes. And I think clearly many companies are doing it. They make it easy for you to use it elsewhere, and it has driven and triggered behaviors among people. I think the real value of a loyalty program is, can you change consumer behavior to support your brand's purpose and aspiration, right? And you can see that many brands do make that transition happen. Okay. Any other final points you want to share as we get into this, particularly around blockchain? So maybe we talked briefly about NFT. We talked about the work Nike and Coca-Cola are doing, but is there a business case for is there a business case if somebody has to get started to start doing something associated with NFTs or blockchain with an existing loyalty program they have? What would be your suggestion? How could they get started? Are the entry barriers too high? Are there easy ways to go about it?
Yeah, I think that's a very good and important question, Manoj, because first of all, any loyalty program, whether you're thinking about a loyalty program powered by Web3 or traditional means, I think it has to start from customer journey in mind. It has to start from customer touch points in mind. It has to start from customer aspirations and requirements in mind. And the point about easy ways to get started, it is definitely an established fact that crypto is not easy. So embarking on a journey where we expect the end users to claim NFTs, to buy NFTs, to trade NFTs, I guess it's not an easy task. It's a very complicated venture for the company, for end users. So I think the success of even the experiments lies in how well you can hide blockchain under the hood and still take advantage of what Web3 brings in. And I think it's a very deep topic. It's a bigger topic on what is needed for a Web3 powered loyalty program. And maybe in subsequent sessions, we could go understand, where does a loyalty program need to sit to be able to make a real impact. You could definitely do things on the side, like a lot of other brands have done around dropping NFTs. Even the Starbucks Odyssey app, which is so far one of the really good examples, is a separate Web3 app. It's not integrated into their main app, and we have to see how it evolves and at what point will it make it to the main app. So there is obviously a technical barrier to entry for the brands, for end users, and that's where I think a deep discussion is needed on what are the questions we need to ask for a solution, around a solution, NFT powered loyalty solution. And I think there is and that's where we at Unique Network are doing a lot of work around mass adoption. And how we address mass adoption and ease of use is in two ways. One is obviously for the brands that want to create Web3 based loyalty programs. Now, today, if I want to talk to a FMCG company or a retail company and advise them or ask them to create a Web3 loyalty program, and I tell them, oh, you need to hire 10 Solidity developers and then write this whole code. Oh, by the way, and if the price of your product changes, then the code needs to be rewritten. It won't work. And that's a challenge because this whole program is sitting outside of your existing infrastructure. So from a developer and IT infrastructure side, we are approaching this in a way that we have launched SDKs that are in JavaScript, which really means that your existing IT team, your existing developers can create a set of requirements, and those can be coded very easily using SDKs by any Web2 developer, any mobile developer. They don't really need to know blockchain. They can still build advanced APIs. They just need to know the business process around it. So that's one thing. Then the other side of mass adoption and ease of adoption is the end user. Right now, if we expect, so as we know that for any transaction to happen on a blockchain, there is a blockchain transaction fee, and there are numerous brands I've spoken to who are trying various layer 2 scaling solutions to be able to reduce the Ethereum transaction fee, and yet they complain of spikes. So that's not something that you want to introduce in your customer touch point. So what we have created is something called a capability for a brand to sponsor the transaction for the end user, which means the end user does not have to figure out ways to first buy the token, pay the fee with their credit card, and then just execute a NFT transaction. So I guess we need to understand that there is a right tech stack that's needed. There are key considerations around, and we could discuss that maybe another time, but what are the top key considerations for building your loyalty program that's powered by NFTs? So I think mass adoption from a developer or a brand point of view and from an end user point of view is very important to address these NFT loyalty programs. All the success that we've seen in NFT drops, they've been successful within the crypto communities, within the early adopters of Web3 who understand Web3, but we are yet to see success at scale of a loyalty program that's sustainable in a way that has longevity to it.
Excellent. Great. Hey, thank you very much, Charu. I think, I think we have set the foundation for a more deeper conversation associated with how Web3 can play an important role and how that could transform the loyalty programs of today and address some of the big challenges that loyalty programs of today have, which is to really do with engagement, to do with building of communities, the ease of administration, the ease of consumption. The questions that was asked by, I think, William, which is how can we how is it seamlessly possible to take the benefits accrued from one loyalty program to another and use them across the board. So those are the things I believe could contribute significantly to us not being restricted to the top 3 or 4 big loyalty programs that we work with. Any final comments from you, Chandru, before we wrap up?
I guess this is it. It was really good to have this discussion with you, and thanks for all the questions. I mean, this space is still evolving, and I'm really looking forward to a lot of stuff from the brands that are pro on Web3 and have moved forward with the experiments.
Excellent. Hey, thank you very much, Charu, again. And as we mentioned earlier, we are on this early part of our journey to understand where loyalty programs are working, what is not working. And if any one of you who is very passionate about it wants to contribute, wants to work together with us to help define the agenda as we try and discover how technology can play an important role in making loyalty programs easy to consume, make it work for a larger number of companies, please do reach out to either of us, and we'll be delighted to see how to support it. We just released a basic fundamentals of loyalty program research just today as a primer into what we used it to prepare for today's conversation. So thanks very much, and best of luck in continuing to drive success in your loyalty programs. Talk to you again soon, Charu.
Thanks, Manoj. Thanks, everyone.